All right, guys, time for another YouTube recap. Another exciting little slow Monday. A little slow, but definitely exciting. As we were completely right coming into the day, which is pretty much mandatory in our job. So as we come into our X, I do like to post off some free calls here and there. And as we slowly kind of come into the morning and pre, we're up very early, so a lot of these moves come into effect quite early. And I post these here on X for you guys, usually free. So you can see me getting into some positionals here. So there's a bunch of longs up, excuse me, up on the day here. Put all my targets in blue. And then we did a little explanation here on the green line chase support, which we'll cover here again, right? So my thesis for my private group, I said it was going to dip and then it was going to rip today. And that thesis was built off the VIX, the pre-market, the way things look, the daily, all the things that we always use here. And it was a pretty easy one. So the dip into the green levels here are what we had called before the long, right? And we're going to come back down into those levels, go back up. And as I posted earlier here, and that came to fruition, came true. You don't want to be caught in these big old dumpster red candles like this. And, to allow yourself to use VWAP anchor magnets like we do, definitely will save yourself in these situations. So all the long targets were hit today. And let's talk about it, right? So as we get into today, let's start at the anchors here. So we had untested, untouchable anchors that we needed magnet back test of today. And that's where we got the dip to rip as well kind of area. And SPY, always the better trader than Qs here on the right, was waiting for that dip to rip, right? So the thesis was an overnight anchor, which needed a live tag, which we got right here. And that was the dip to rip, and we're going to go for that gap fill on QQQ. Of course, SPY is going to run. Now, Qs, you can see, is a lot lazier than SPY. SPY's ETFs run a lot harder than Qs. No big deal. But regardless, we did have the other Qs green level that we needed to come down to. Qs obviously came down very quickly and found the green level short earlier. SPY took a little bit, but both came into my magnet VWAP as we needed to hit that before we went higher, as we called ahead of time on X way before it happened. So let's get into the old TOS here. So the long, before I left my crew here and our premium Discord, I told everybody to stick long and just buy all the dips because we're going to break out. And I gave you guys this fib right here on just a little 5-minute high low. Now, to explain what we were doing here in the morning for the dip to rip, I said we could come back down and test 473.61. Very important level for us here. Can't show you how I got it, but it was a guaranteed stamp of approval by me that we were going to stay above this and we were going to go higher into potentially the gap fill of 480 this week. So the Qs will be pushing up to 480 this week. Hopefully not today. We wanted to slow down a little bit here and hopefully being FOMC, so on and so forth, keep that push alive, but that's okay. So either which way. Now, for the continuation up to the 480, a few things got to happen. We got to stay and close above yesterday's highs. We got to keep on this little bit of a fib for the intraday scalp. And we got a little bit more of extension on the Qs till, we're farther away than the anchor VWAP. So perfectly fine for the long. So the metrics that we had used today, right? Were some pretty big ones. Right there, you can see a little red dash line, and then you get a teal level that I'm not going to give you where I got it from, but this was my guaranteed bounce point. This is the 50 SMA daily, so we can give you that one right here. Then we have 473.61 as a weekly Fibonacci level, and again, very important one. Can't show you exactly why it was the bounce. And I said to the crew, we're just going to wait for a recovery of VWAP on QQQ and then go long for the day, and that is it. So the volume weighted average price is dashed purple level right here. And then we've seen the dip into the half candle retrace, the harder dip into the actual levels called recovery of the VWAP, 100 EMA 5-minute, 200 SMA 5-minute, and continuation. Now I said as long as we maintain now above 475.37, I left at about 10 a.m. for a little bit of a break. So right here is when I usually get off. And I told everybody, as long as it consolidates and holds above pre-market high and inevitably above the 100, we will continue higher towards the gap fill. And I said, probably trade SPY up to the half full dollars. So before I left, I gave everybody the trade plan as well, telling them to watch it walk up to 477 and 477.50 from the pre-market high. So there's your dip into the pre-market high in blue, higher low. Perfect RSI giving you some signal there, and up to 477. So some really nice moves there on Qs. And then for SPY, same exact thing. I said as long as we just hold above UAP in the pre, and of course SPY is extremely strong today. The dip to buy on SPY was also very easy, right into the 200 and 100s, which we had called -2 VWAP extension, and anything above the VWAP and pre-market high, we will continue. Here's pre-market high in the blue. You notice great consolidation right here on the 5-minute chart for support, pushed, and then further consolidation. A little bit of a stop loss eater chase, and higher as expected. Now, again, we did push everybody to maintain a support above the 55550 and go for 556. 555 or 556.50, and then as high as 557 and higher. Now we are just pushing into 557.50 and going because we are heading to the deviation center. So we'll be up here into the 560s coming into the weekend FOMC as the run should continue. Now, I don't see any other horrible resistance till we really start pressing into the gap now on the top side of SPY. That doesn't come until 560.60, okay? So we got a little bit of space left until that gap that's on the daily, and that's going to be the gap that we were pushing into on SPY. So that's coming up very close, and that is the gap and go from all-time high. If you're not familiar, that is right here. This is where the gap starts. So this is where we'll be looking for this week as the long should continue. Now, into the deviation and into 560.50 will be your call. Any maintenance above for the day trade above VWAP and continuation, we will have it. So our predictions were right on there. Now, our pre-market predictions were also developed off the volatility index, which I'll cover here with you guys as well. Notice the VIX in a solid gap up, right? And it did not leave us any gaps above. So if there was gaps in the 5-minute chart above, you would hope for a VIX to come up and retest that gap in between the candles before it would head back down. And we didn't have any of those. So it actually turned out really good because the opening price here compared to the closing price left a very large gap there on the VIX, allowing the market to slowly gather the dip to rip right into a big push. Now, a dip to rip is what we call, because of the volatility index as well, and the positional, but now we're going to go into the rest of the kind of the burn down. We've hit all the targets right under 558, and I think we're going to get a little bit of a relax here, and I would hope so anyway, because if it keeps ripping at the end of the day, we're going to miss a lot of the good moves coming into FOMC. Now, that being said, taking a peek at the Qs daily one last time before we get out of here, we have some opportunity here to fill this gap even today, because the Q likes to run and the Qs is behind, right? The SPY front ran today. If the SPY went up, up, and up, Qs is lagging behind. Now, for this gap fill to maintain above the 50 and keeping the push alive, pretty simple. I think anything above that 50 for the push is going to be fantastic. Now, of course, we are going to get a pullback here, and I'm not going to call too much here, but as we kind of push back up to the gap fill for this week, it's going to be 480, and then a potential, if we get a big ripper through FOMC and the short squeeze continue to panic, we're going to find ourselves upwards towards that 490 area throughout that week. So that's going to be a pretty massive prediction, but I think we got it in it. Now, if we get a pullback before that, I really hope so. So let's plan to see that. That is not the call. That is just a hope, right? That we could hold on to if we can get that. But I think we're just going to keep running, hit that gap fill, consolidate, and continue that push up towards almost 490. So with that being said, we had a perfect prediction day. And if you want to sit with us live every single morning as we predict these trades, get into the Discord. We do have links in our description. We pull this over real fast just for you guys to get a little bit of taste of what we do here. 5:13 a.m. Central is when I started, showing you guys my positionals like I always do here, and entries 19,576. I said we're going to go up here for the longs. We made it up to the first target. We took profit, watched it come back down, dip by it again. But there's a couple $1,000 trade right here just on the single couple NQs that we were running back up. And as I push through here, watching support for buys, if you missed the run up, make sure to buy at 19,594. So giving you a progressive support. If you missed the first long, don't long again. I'm telling you, don't long again until 19,594.25. That's where your potential dip buy in and long is going to go. And we'll take a peek at that in here in a sec. And then, of course, giving you all the opportunities for the pullback to come back down. So again, going through the trades, recapping the trades, entering the trades, giving you my enter, exits, P&Ls, all the other good stuff. We do this live. It's not only just a Discord. Take alert. We don't go live till about 8 a.m. Central, but I do work with you guys all through pre-market, then go live, and we do it again for hours in the live and predict and manage all of these trades that we call. Now we got a partner that comes in, Connor, which I'm sure you guys are very familiar with as well, that comes in with a ton of different analysis to help us out as well. And as we updated today, we did a 27, 65, 56 in the big account, all the top step accounts, as you can see, $2,000, $2,000, $2,000, all the way down. On the biggest, and that's a fantastic one, right? So if you ever want to trade with us live or come see us, link is in the description. If you want to support the channel another way and get an Apex funded account, a Top Step funded account, we have those codes in the description as well, and it's much appreciated. And if you want to see you in Discord, and if I don't see you in the Discord, I'll see you on the next video. You guys take care.